David Greenshield, gentlemen, your opinion on the way the national media handled the LSU situation that's currently still going on, but Les Miles, of course, the main culprit there, compared to Zach Smith and Tattoo-gate.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you compare the coverage of all these different things. A lot of it's the timing of when some of these things come out, the off season or when it may be. Obviously, you're talking about Les Miles, who's kind of been out of the picture. He's been in the witness protection program as the head coach at Kansas for the last 2-3 years. And, Lewis Papp is asking where we're supposed to push the super chat to. What are the directions on how to use the super chat, Mark? Can you run that real quick?
Yeah, so in the super chat, if you go to the bottom of the feed, so where you're typing in your questions and comments in the live chat, there should be a $sign at the bottom of that scroll.
Awesome. Okay.
Just click on that $sign and then you fill it out at whatever question or comment you make in amount.
There's your ask a question and put in a large dollar amount and we'll be happy. Getting back on what were we discussing again? I'm sorry. I had something I was going to say.
The national media's treatment of the current LSU situation versus some of the Ohio State scandals in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and here's Miles. I mean, he's been out of the spotlight at Kansas. He's really not a big name anymore. I mean, he was, at LSU, but and the things he was accused of doing were not good things, certainly. I feel bad for any victims, alleged, accused, otherwise, whatever he's come up with, whoever accused him of things, I feel bad for those people. But I don't know. I think Ohio State's kind of on its own stratosphere. When things happen, the national media are going to blow those things out of proportion and, are going to cover them to a higher degree than if they happen at LSU or somewhere else. I mean, maybe Alabama would be an example, or I don't know. But some of it probably has to do with the fact that, interest in Ohio State football is probably, from a national standpoint, probably 3 or 4 times higher than it is in LSU football. But, down there, whatever, it is what it is. I mean, it's big in Louisiana, but, how many people live in Louisiana? About 5 million, 6 million?
I'm going to hear about this, Steve. I can just tell now already. That's fine.
Well, that's fine. I don't mean to diminish. I mean, LSU has got a great following, but, do they have as many people following them as Ohio State? I don't think so. So, I mean, they're a great SEC program, no question. But I just wonder if that's some of the disparity, that it doesn't involve Ohio State. I think Ralph Russo or somebody tweeted out, or no, it was a guy named Bozich from the Louisville television station. When he saw that job came open, he said, does anybody want a really bad job, the Kansas job? So I immediately said Tom Herman. Somebody tweeted out that they won 20 games in 2 years with Bear Mangino. And since the day he left, they've won 26, something like 8-9 years since he's been there. They've won a total of 26. So maybe bring back Bear Mangino and all his warts, and maybe he'll get them back where they need to be. So 3 or 4 times higher nationally. Jesus, Steve, that's not accurate. What's the population of Louisiana? Does anybody know? The population of the state's about 13 million.
I'm going to give it a guess. Where's Ohio? Like 12 million?
13. 13.
I'm going to say Louisiana is 6.5. Yeah, I was going to say 6.5, 6.
I mean, everybody left New Orleans, right? After Hurricane Katrina, everybody left. I mean, I don't know. It's at least double, for God's sake. Let's don't even, joke. But whatever.
Well, and the thing is, Ohio State is more of a national brand than LSU, which creates a much more interest. And the thing is, like, Les Miles is a bigger name than Zach Smith, and should have created more buzz. but Ohio State is Ohio State. And it's been that way forever. And you even look at the stuff that came out this past week with Rush Probst accusing Georgia and Alabama of those things. And naming names of the bagmen and the coaches. And if he had named the names of those people at Ohio State, I'm going to guess about 4 or 5 different networks would have been camped out in Columbus or on their way, or have already gotten here, because I remember in the past when ESPN would be in Columbus for weeks at a time and have producers like asking people, have you heard anything? Do you know anything? Have you spoken with anybody? Trying to speak with people. And that's because it was Ohio State. And so it's just 2 different worlds where then you also have with CBS and ESPN being such financial partners with the SEC, there's not going to be a lot of, well, let's get to the bottom of this. No, you don't want to get to the bottom of that. You want to keep everything just as it is. But also, we talked about this on my Buckeye Weekly podcast, where Tattoo Gate would be almost, I wonder if it would be kind of nothing if it happened now, other than the fact that it is still Ohio State, because you had the Tattoo Gate, and then you had some other stuff, and you had like Nevin Shapiro after that. But in between there was the Jerry Sandusky thing, which kind of reminded people of, okay, this is actually what serious college issues are, and this is what the important issues are. And so people became a little bit more, forgiving of any NCAA infractions. But this is beyond NCAA infractions. This is like human interpersonal contact and infractions where, what's done is done. He's no longer there. No need to do any digging. You might not like what you find, but I'll be interested to see if local media continues to cover it, continues to press, because there can be a lot of pushback when you do that, especially at a big state school, and always it's not always worth the rate of return for a lot of places to try to create or find those kinds of issues.
We have all sorts of people in the live chat, including myself, before I checked out their numbers, scurrying to figure out and find the population of the state of Louisiana. Officially right here, 2019, 4.65 million, Steve. So even less than we thought.
Yeah. Ohio's 3 times as many people. Viewership, of a random Ohio State game is going to be pretty high. A random LSU game, probably good. Obviously, when they're playing Alabama or whoever, and it's 2 versus 3, then it's a big deal. But, and I'm not bagging on LSU. Just the question was asked, why didn't they cover it to the same degree? And that's all I was ever saying. So I think people make a good point on here on the chat that the ESPN's in bed with the SEC. So, it may run in the scroll across the bottom, but they're not going to spend time, more than a few seconds on SportsCenter talking about it.
I got to say, for one, the Tattoo Gate, especially as the years go by, drives me nuts more and more and more and more, because the Zach Smith situation, I can see both arguments in regards of the defense of Urban Meyer and the criticism of Urban Meyer. And it's a pretty complicated situation involving relationships and so forth. You talk about what's going on at LSU and what Les Miles carried with him from Oklahoma State to LSU. You have your head coaches who may turn a deaf ear or a blind eye to a situation, who really would like the student athletes to conduct themselves well, but still winning's more important. So I'm just going to, not pay attention. Les Miles he created a culture, it seems, where he encouraged this kind of behavior. And you're talking about abuses against people and against women versus selling some memorabilia that you earned on a football field. If the NCAA can come out with violations that are anywhere close to the same level, and they already have, involving those kind of situations where people's lives are being harmed seriously versus dealing with trinkets and tattoos, is crazy to me.
I seem to recall Les Miles once allowed his team to vote on whether to suspend a player or not, and they decided not to suspend a player. So
A shocker.
What a surprise, as our friend Tim May would say, as he quotes the late great Hayden Fry about some Big Ten indignity extended to the Hawkeyes. What a surprise!
It's a close vote, I'm sure.